Talking about the categories involved with torts. So our first category here is intentional torts, 2019 to 2020. Objectives and standards. You will be able to explain the different types of intentional torts, and you will be able to understand defenses to intentional torts. And please take a moment there to look over the standards if you would, please. And desired result. What damages can be caused by intentional torts? What damages, excuse me, can be caused by intentional torts? Acting intentionally. Children have a good understanding what acting intentionally means, right? So just when they break or steal something, kids are pretty honest, right? They'll say, yes, I took that, or yes, I broke that, but I didn't mean to, or, this person made me mad, so I took their toy and broke their toy. And that's true for adults, right? That adults sometimes act intentionally as well. When a person plans to perform a certain act and then does so, then an act has been committed intentionally. Intentional torts occur when a person deliberately harms another or damages property. Laws that govern intentional torts fall into two categories: A, injury to another person, and B, harm to property. Damage types. If a person can prove that another caused, or should say caused harm to them or damage to their property, they can seek reward for the cost. A plaintiff, remember, a plaintiff is the victim, can receive different types of compensation or payments for damages suffered. Okay, the first one here is compensatory damages. Okay, compensatory damages, these are the rewards compensates the person for the harm caused by the defendant, or remember, the defendant is the person responsible. Example here: Gus punches Seth in the mouth. Seth seeks damages for Gus to pay for his medical bills. Okay, so that would be a compensatory damage type reward. Another type of reward could be nominal damages. This is a token amount of money awarded by the court to show a claim was justified, even if the plaintiff cannot show economic proof. So maybe there's not a lot of severe damage or pain or suffering, but the person is still seeking some type of payment for the action. Okay? Example here: Juan slaps Matt across the face. Matt suffered no real physical harm, but the court, should be there, again, typo there, may award a small amount for Juan's actions. And then the last one here is punitive damages. Punitive damages are amounts of money awarded to the plaintiff to punish the defendant for malicious, willful, or outrageous actions. So Kate fires again at Mark and misses. Even though there is no damage, her actions were intentional and could have caused injury or death. So again, those types of damages there are what can be retrieved from intentional torts. Injuries to a person. 5 common intentional torts that cause harm to a person are listed here. A, battery. This occurs when a person intentionally causes harmful or offensive contact with another person. Could come as a result of a punch to the nose or an unwanted kiss. Okay? Actions must be considered quote unquote offensive to an average person of society. So obviously we don't want to be walking up to random strangers and kissing them. We don't want people walking around the streets punching people in the face. So the defendant must pay damages even if they did not intend to cause the damage or harm. So maybe in this picture here, maybe the guy grabs the guy by the shirt and shoves him to the ground, and maybe the guy falls back on his wrist and breaks his wrist, and even though the guy in the black tank top there didn't mean to cause the guy in the yellow polo shirt or t-shirt there to break his wrist, the victim with the glasses there could definitely seek damages for that through battery. Letter B here, assault, when a person intentionally seeks to cause harm or fear of another person. Words or actions can be considered assault even if the defendant did not cause harm or damage. Okay, let's say somebody throws a glass cup or bottle at your head, and you duck out of the way at the last second, and the glass shatters. You're not injured, but the person who threw it at you meant to cause harm to you, right? Meant to cause injury. So even though it didn't hurt you, that's assault. Assault means that a harmful or fearful act is about to occur. So you were obviously afraid of the glass or bottle flying at your head, so you moved out of the way. That could be assault. Another one here is infliction of emotional distress. This is pretty recent, from 1940 or so on. When words or actions are used to cause somebody extreme anxiety or emotional distress. Physical harm does not need to be proven to recover damages. The words or actions must be so outrageous for the courts to award the plaintiff any type of payment. So this is very difficult and tricky to judge, because what could be seriously emotional to somebody might not be that emotional to somebody else. But again, this is something that you could seek payments for. Continuing on here with injuries to a person. Letter D, false imprisonment. This is when somebody is intentionally and wrongfully confined without their consent by another person. An example here for you: imagine a restaurant owner refuses to let an employee leave when their shift is over unless they finish cleaning the tables. The employee could sue their boss for false imprisonment. And then last one here for injuries to a person is torts related to defamation. These are acts that harm a person's reputation, okay, oral or written format. Excuse me, oral defamation, or saying something bad about somebody that isn't true, is called slander. Writing something bad about somebody that isn't true is called libel. Okay, that's written defamation. Now, some of these are protected, right? We have opinions such as from movie or restaurant critics. Maybe they say the movie was terrible, the actor didn't play the role well. Maybe somebody writes something bad about a restaurant owner saying the food was terrible, they don't know how to cook. We typically excuse those, right? So these are not just, oh, you said something bad about me that I don't believe is true. This has to be something that is severe. Like, let's say Bobby goes to a mechanic, okay, making up some names here. Bobby goes to a mechanic, and Bobby doesn't like how much he was charged for his tires to be replaced or repaired by his mechanic. So there's a couple people standing there in the mechanic's office or garage, and Bobby walks in there and he says, hey, Mike the mechanic is a terrible guy. He beats up his wife and his kids, and I've seen him out drinking at a bar, and he gets really drunk and makes bad choices. I don't know, things like that. Something that isn't true. Okay, Mike the mechanic might, it probably doesn't, if Mike the mechanic doesn't do those things, and then Mike the mechanic loses customers because of what Bobby said, then Mike the mechanic could sue Bobby for defamation. Okay, because if those things aren't true and it causes Mike the mechanic his job or money or something else, then that could be something that Mike the mechanic could sue for defamation, saying, hey, what you said about me isn't true. Harm to property. A person's property is protected under tort law in two ways. The first one here protects against interference with an owner's exclusive right of property, and defense against property being taken or damaged. Categories that are protected under property include three areas. A, real property, land and the items attached to it, such as houses, crops, and fences. B, personal property, items that can be moved, such as cars, appliances, and clothing. And then C, intellectual property, which is ownership of creations from a person's mind. Real property. Signs that read private property, keep out, or no trespassing are related to real property. Sorry, there should be a quotation mark there at the end of no trespassing. When a person enters another's property without permission, this is known as trespassing. An owner can recover damages from a trespasser even if there are no damages to the property. Property owners must provide care and maintenance to protect others from harm as well. Attractive nuisance laws are used to protect others, especially children, from damage or injury, such as fencing off an excavation site so nobody falls in or gets injured. Businesses must protect their customers as well, such as shoveling off their sidewalks from snow as to not slip and get injured. Sometimes tort law protects against a nuisance with property. This occurs when there is an unreasonable interference with your ability to enjoy your property. Maybe your neighbor has a party every night or every weekend, at midnight, and is blasting music and you can't sleep and they're loud. You could go to a court and ask that an injunction take place, okay? So So if the nuisance continues, a court may order an injunction requiring the defendant to stop the specific act or not have a party at midnight every night on the weekend, right? Maybe they have to have it earlier or keep the music or the amount of people to a certain limit. Personal property. Compensation is provided to people who have their property damaged, taken, or interfered with under tort law. A victim may sue a burglar for conversion under tort law. Okay, this is the unlawful exercise control of a person's personal property by another person. It's kind of hard to do that though with a burglar though, because usually they sell the item and can't pay you back, but you can try to. Certain things have been put in place to protect defending property, such as stand your ground laws, using a gun to do so. And nonviolent methods have also been used, but should be used carefully. I would not recommend things like that. Just call the police, okay? And then intellectual property. Intellectual property is something that has been invented from a person's brain. A patent recognizes ownership of the invention that is novel or completely new. It has to be completely new. Something that is a creative expression is protected by copyright. Maybe some of you understand this. Examples are books, movies, music, and artwork, right? Clip art, things like that. A person may also use copies of the work to make derivative works, meaning works very similar to the original, and that works part should be highlighted as well, bolded, underlined. A person may also sell the work under the first use law. Fair use law also allows people to use limited legal production of copyrighted items for non-commercial purposes. Sorry for the typo there. For non-commercial purposes such as education. Teachers can use movies and things like that in the classroom as long as they're not selling that for a purpose. If another person uses the patented invention or the copyrighted work without permission, they could face penalties for violating infringement laws. That's why I keep that, as you see in this picture here, this photo by unknown author is licensed under CC BY-ND. That means I'm allowed to use that for educational purposes. Intentional tort defenses. A defendant may be able to prove a defense to intentional torts. The most common defense is consent. A plaintiff agreed to the harm and therefore gave up the right to sue the defendant. This can be written, spoken, or simply assumed. For example, a boxer cannot sue another boxer for physical harm since the sport includes physical violence, right? We know that boxing, people beat each other up, right? They punch each other. So a boxer can't come back and say, hey, you punched me in the face, man, and it hurt. The boxer knows that going into that event, that's going to happen. They're probably going to get beat up, may get injured, and things like that. The concept of privilege can also be used to defend against intentional torts. Best example, legal authority. Okay, legal authority is an example of privilege, such as police officers have a right to detain somebody without their permission to protect the public. You can't sue the police because you arrested me because I was drunk driving, or you can't arrest me because I got in a fight somewhere or something like that, or ran away from the police. And you detained me, you held me, it's false imprisonment. The police have a right to do that. If you're a threat to society or causing harm or damage to something, they have a right to detain you. Okay, intentional tort defenses again. The best known the best known defense perhaps to intentional torts is self-defense, right? People say, I was defending my property. So people also use the defense of property excuse to defend homes or property. Excuse me. However, deadly force or force that may be life-threatening, which we've talked about, may eliminate self-defense or defense of property in certain situations. If somebody breaks into your house, tries to steal something, they have a gun and you knock the gun away and you shoot them in the leg, and then you stop, that would be self-defense, right? Defense of property. However, if you continue to shoot the person once they're shot in the leg and, not moving or not a threat anymore, if you shoot them then 17 more times and kill them, that's not self-defense anymore. That's not defense of property. That's murder then. Okay, closure. What damages can be caused by intentional torts? Think about the harm to the person. Think about the damage to property. Think about those different categories we talked about and the damages that occur. All right, and that'll help you answer your questions. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.